Right now at 6, the search for a murder suspect mistakenly released from custody.
We are taking this incident extremely seriously.
Plus, tensions rise after an attack at a Texas ICE facility.
Every side is going to say, you need to stop this rhetoric right now.
As some on the left and the right blame each other for the violence. Then, why a program some say is working to prevent wildfire damage now faces funding cuts.
We live at the mercy of Mother Nature, and she always bats last.
And later, a Mariners coach shows some young hospital patients what it's like to be part of the team.
If I can bring them some hope and some smiles again, that's what it's all about.
A very good evening, everyone. And first at 6, an update on the search for a murder suspect. He is 26-year-old Tyler Sage and was supposed to be in custody, but was released on bail in error despite a judge's order to keep him behind bars. Let's go right to Joe Ranieri live outside the Multnomah County Jail. Joe, the question that is lingering this evening, how did this happen?
Yeah, obviously, David, there's lots of questions behind what took place about 48 hours ago. Now, this past spring, Tyler Sage was arrested on first-degree robbery and second-degree murder charges. Those charges stem from a December 2021 shooting where 15-year-old Logan Ivy was killed at an Gresham apartment complex. According to court records, it was a drug deal that went wrong. Sage and another suspect were also accused of trying to buy guns from the victim. A judge denied bail for Sage during a hearing last week, but the initial paperwork filed also showed a bail amount. He was released from the county jail on Monday, which is run by the sheriff's department.
Initial release order was signed on September 17th, which many of you have reviewed. It contained information that indicated that Sage's bail had been set to $5,000. We are taking this incident extremely seriously.
Now, again, I did talk with the sheriff earlier this afternoon, who said they've been in contact with the victim's family over the last couple of days. And I also asked, is anybody, taking responsible for this? Yes, granted, the sheriff said it falls on her shoulders. And I also asked if anybody's on leave because of this mistake, and she said not yet. David, back to you.
Now to be continued. Joe Ranieri reporting downtown. Thank you, Joe. Meanwhile, we have continuing coverage this evening on the shooting at an ICE facility in Texas, one that officials in Dallas confirm left one person dead and 2 others injured. Authorities say the suspected shooter, identified as 29-year-old Joshua John, opened fire as migrant detainees were boarding a bus. He was also found dead, authorities say in his case, on the roof of a nearby building with a rifle next to him.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
No officers were injured, and at this hour, the motive remains unclear. I want to bring in Celine Stevens here. Celine, turns out the facility in Dallas is pretty similar to the ICE building near the South Waterfront here.
David, definitely it is. And today I heard from a range of opinions from people I spoke with following the news of that shooting in Dallas. Some are blaming the left, saying threats against ICE are even happening here in Portland, and our local leaders aren't doing enough to stop it. While others say the real violence is seen in the way undocumented people are being detained in our community. Wednesday morning, a top Immigration and Customs Enforcement official in Dallas argued heated rhetoric criticizing ICE and the federal government led to the shooting at the ICE facility in Texas.
The takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees.
Conservative talk show host Lars Larson blaming political leaders in Portland for failing to speak up against the violence.
Do we have threats against ICE? Yes. Are they happening in Portland? Yes. Are local officials doing anything about it to stop those threats or push back on the people who are threatening ICE agents? No, they're not.
But others, like this person who has been handing out informational flyers outside the Portland ICE facility for months, says the actual violence against communities lies elsewhere.
The violence that we have been seeing from them, the way they brutally arrest people and tear people from their families, I'm not seeing enough government officials doing anything about that. So if they're so very concerned about violence, then why are they not pointing at the perpetrators of that violence?
The ICE facility in Portland's South Waterfront has been the center of protests over the years, from 2020 to now, with the protests and encampments taking over the block at times. Wednesday, we saw just a few gathering to make their point.
Different backgrounds that all wanted the same thing in protecting our neighbors, making sure they're not getting taken advantage of, making sure that they know how they can get support and help.
Larson says he thinks politicians, even calling out Mayor Keith Wilson by name, need to push back more.
There have been too many politicians out there, all of them from the Democrat side of the aisle, who are calling for violence against ICE. They are attempting to enforce the federal laws that have been on the books for decades.
Portland State University professor Alexander Ross provided some insight about how political rhetoric impacts our community.
It can really be a kind of thermometer for the way that people are feeling, because that's the way that they're expressing themselves. If the Trump administration continues to effectively promote hate and demonization, we probably won't see the left wing taking any steps back anytime soon.
Ross saying while Portland has been a big protest center for a while, it's also been the target of violence as well.
Every side is going to say, you need to stop this rhetoric right now, when the violence has been acted out against their side. And then when the opposite thing happens, they step back, distance themselves, thoughts and prayers or what have you.
So the city responded to Larson's statement today, saying that, quote, Mayor Wilson has been unequivocal in his support for Portland's sanctuary city status and expressing concern about the federal use of force at the ICE facility. Mr. Larson's claims are incorrect and unsubstantiated.
Celine Stevens taking the temperature. Appreciate it, Celine. Well, speaking of immigration, an Oregon firefighter who was detained by ICE for a month is now free and back home. Attorneys for Rigoberto Hernandez tell KGW that Homeland Security has now dismissed his removal. The 23-year-old firefighter was one of a 44-person crew working the Bear Gulch fire in the Olympic National Forest when he was arrested by Border Patrol agents on August 27th. Attorneys with the Innovation Law Lab in Portland worked to help free Hernandez, filing a petition for his release. But they say before that petition could be considered in court, the government dropped the deportation case.
This is certainly the outcome we wanted from day one, from the day we learned of his arrest, and we're super happy that it happened yesterday. Of course, this should have never happened.
In a statement, Hernandez said in part, quote, I am glad that I'm home and I'm excited to see my family. I want to give my thanks to everyone. Hernandez says he will now continue to pursue legal status through a U visa, something he applied for 7 years ago. In your headlines this evening, KGW has obtained new surveillance video that shows an explosion at a food cart pod in southeast Portland. Wow, that was the view from the Crystal Guide store right next to the Springwater Cart Park on Southeast 82nd. The store and 8 carts were damaged. A little bit of the aftermath here. Firefighters say a leaking propane tank in one of the carts caused that explosion. This Saturday afternoon, the store will hold a maker's market as a fundraiser in order to help with cleanup efforts. To Highway 26 now, where Portland Fire says 2 people bailed out of a flaming vehicle and survived. This was just after 11 this morning on the off-ramp to the Oregon Zoo. Officials say the car was heading up Sylvan Hill when mechanical issues sparked an engine fire and caused the brakes to fail. The driver pulled off and told a passenger to roll out before doing the same. Wow. Both were taken to the hospital. This blaze also sparked a small brush fire. And new video shows a Coast Guard rescue after a boat capsized near Waldport. These images are from the crew at Air Station North Bend. They show the Coast Guard hoisting the man into a helicopter on Tuesday. He was taken to the hospital. At this point, we do not have an update on his condition. Matt?
All right, David, thank you very much. Always be careful of the ocean, especially this time of the year. We're going to have great weather, but really big swells coming on shore from distant storms. Meanwhile, up at Timberline, it is beautiful, clear blue sky, 75 degrees, but looking south, it looks hazy down across central and southern Oregon, and there are still some wildfires smoldering, use that word, smoldering down to our south. In fact, check it out. The biggest one in Oregon that's producing smoke is this one, the Moon Complex fire down in the Siskiyous, but the Embry fire is still producing a little bit of smoke right there. Not a lot, but some. more smoke being produced by the fires that are still burning up in western Washington, including the Barigolds fire here, and then the Wildcat fire east of Mount Rainier right there too. However, when we look at our smoke model forecast, the haze over the parts of Oregon that we have it in is really going to begin to clear tomorrow as the westerly winds kick back on in and push that smoke farther east. And it looks like by that time, the Wildcat fire in Mount Rainier will be one of the biggest producers of smoke. So hopefully the air will continue to clear for all of the Northwest. Tomorrow in Portland, though, another great day, but it will be cooler. We're in the 80s today. Tomorrow we top out in the low 70s. But don't worry, we're not done with the 80s. I'll let you know when they're back. David?
Looking forward to that. Thanks, Pat. In health news, after some confusion and uncertainty, COVID vaccines are now available at many local pharmacies, including Safeway's, Albertsons, and CVS, with no prescription needed. Now, recent federal rules had limited vaccines to those over 65, high-risk patients, or anyone with a doctor's prescription, but West Coast states, along with Hawaii, created their own guidelines. Pharmacists say patients were happy to see that prescription requirement dropped.
And of course, it's inconvenient for them. And also confusion because they didn't understand because it wasn't required in the past. And I don't blame them at all. It's definitely something new.
At Safeway and Albertsons, anyone 7 or older can get the shot, though younger children still need to see a doctor in order to get one.